Today, we talk about, boom, Brett Hiker. Welcome back. It's been too long, my man.
I know, right?
Because in real time, you are here, but for the folks at home, it's going to be a few days delayed for them to see this compared to the top six. So
we stood here for a few days. Yeah,
you were dedicated to the craft, man.
He kept saying, "Don't change your clothes." Continuity.
So you just finished the top six. Very interesting choices, I got to say, especially with the extra butter street meat. That's a first, and also the babes. That was impressive. People are going to be pretty proud of you for not being a sneakerhead and being into that for sure. But now the more fun, I think, especially for non-sneakerheads, is picking out the 6 pairs of shoes you wouldn't be caught dead in, that you just can't stand to even look at, barely can stand to touch it, even if you feel like. But yeah, what's? I know you mentioned something on the other wall kind of caught your attention. Was that something you definitely wanted to include, or?
Well, let's go back over there.
Because I wasn't even looking when you picked it up, so I don't even know which one you were alluding to, but.
This is going to be easier than the shoes I like.
Actually, a friend of mine who's like super critical and like just eye rolls at everything type of thing. He hates all these just because like he's also like a basic colors and stuff. And he just, one day he came over when my collection was in my old home in the basement, just scattered all over the floor and shit. And he just goes, dude, it's like ugly camouflage. There's just like so much ugly, I can't even decide which one is the ugliest. They just like blend together.
All right, let's get back to the other side. I'm going to start there. I do not see myself wearing these.
This has been a popular pick on this segment, actually. The LeBron 13s in the debut colorway. Like I was telling you in the last segment, I collect one of every classic shoe that I can. So I got all the LeBrons from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 11 here, 12, and then these are the 13. So I had to just get a 13 just to have it, but these didn't sell that well from what I heard. LeBron didn't even play in them all that long during the season that they debuted. He just really didn't find them all that comfortable or effective for his feet or whatever. I don't mind it. It's definitely not an all-day wear shoe, but it's.
Have you worn these?
Yeah. Like twice, I think, or maybe once. But yeah, it's definitely not. It's for me, it made sense because I have so many options that if I need to in a pinch wear a sneaker, I obviously don't have to choose this. But I would not advise this being the only pair of shoes you own.
All right.
But yeah. So, what am I doing? Let's go. So one.
The other one just stuck out. I don't like this fluorescent yellow shoes, but this by far is the ugliest one I thought.
The Volt Mercurial High Flyknits. Yeah, these are actually specifically, at least the colorway itself, let alone I don't know how much of the component of the design was done by HTM. So HTM, for those that don't know, is Tinker Hatfield. No, hold on. Yeah, Tinker Hatfield is the T, Mark Parker is the M, and Hiroshi Fujiwara is the H, so HTM, and there are 3 legendary designers. So Tinker Hatfield is the guy responsible for like any of the classic Air Jordans from the 3 to the 4 to pretty much everything past.
His name is Tinker Hatfield?
Tinker Hatfield's his name.
Okay.
And he actually designed all the classic Air Max models you see. So any shoe with the visible air bubble.
Yeah.
That's from whether it's Jordans or the Air Maxes on the other wall, they're all a legacy of Tinker. Now, on top of that, Mark Parker is the current CEO of Nike, so he's also a big player in their decisions and whatnot. And then Hiroshi Fujiwara is a major Japanese designer who's had a hand in a lot of these classic sneakers. None that I have, unfortunately. There's one classic Jordan 1, these high top Jordans that he did. That's like super dope, but it goes for like $1,500. Yeah. And at the time I was looking at them, they were going for like $1,000, so I almost wish I had pulled the trigger back then. But at that point, I was like, it's a little too much. But these things do appreciate at least some of them. These probably not too much, but this was one of their debut colorways that they put out. So I figured just for the historic purpose of the shoe, you see in the little sock liner, or not the sock liner, the insole, you see the HTM logo there, Mercurial. Yeah. So and they are comfortable. They have the free sole. I don't know if you knew about Nike Free. But this flexible sole that's supposed to replicate running barefoot. So they went to Stanford, I believe, to study athletes at the University of Stanford University. Yeah. And they noticed that like the golfers, let alone some of the other athletes, I think, if I'm not mistaken, were playing golf barefoot. And they're like, what the fuck is going on? Or like running barefoot, walking barefoot. So they decided maybe there's something to this, and then they decided to, where's my other Nike Free model here? Yeah, they decided to incorporate that into this Nike Free technology that's supposed to replicate you running barefoot while still having some level of cushioning.
Okay.
So that's kind of the idea with these. So they're
But could you play basketball in these?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. Especially these, because these are like the newer Flyknit models with the, you know.
Yeah, you
it's like
Zion the
sock.
fuck out of your shoes.
Yeah, pretty much. So these are definitely. What's that?
Are you gonna get the Zion shoes?
No.
The ones that he blew out?
No,
How,
no.
That sounds like not the most iconic shoe.
No, because it was a dud. It sucked. Like,
Yeah.
why would you collect that?
Oh, I don't know. It's just it's like an error baseball card. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
It's
see.
like-
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean that specific pair that blew out?
I don't know about that specific one.
Okay, but just
model.
like the
Yeah.
model. Well, see, it's that model's a Kyrie. Kyrie Irving, the
that's right,
current
yeah,
Boston Celtics player. Who knows where he's going next? We'll find out in July. But he is a great player, but
Maybe he'll
not.
go to Australia. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, I highly doubt that. But I'm not a huge fan of his shoe line, so I don't
Yeah.
collect any of his Kyrie 1 through 4. I think we're on now. I think we're on Kyrie 5 actually. But otherwise I have all the LeBrons because one of the greatest, if not arguably the greatest basketball player in existence to this date. Kobe, my all-time favorite player, and arguably also the greatest player ever. Jordan, obviously. So for those, I collect one of each signature model that they wore. But it wasn't even they switched them over to a Kyrie. I take all that back. So he's playing in Kyrie's now.
Yeah.
But the shoe that he blew out was a Paul George, which
That's right.
which I'm also not a huge fan of his style of play. He's a great player, obviously way better than me and you, I'm sure, but just not a player that I gravitate towards the shoes. So I don't collect any PGs or Kyries really. So whatever.
My hometown is where Kobe got arrested.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh, so you were from
From
Colorado?
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Wow, fascinating. Any riveting gossip surrounding that the national news didn't carry? Like, oh, I heard it was.
Nothing super riveting, and definitely nothing I should tell on a podcast.
Damn it!
Yeah.
All right, well, I tried, guys. I tried to get something juicy here.
All right, next one. These ones.
Another-
In case you're trying to convince someone you were bored of hoofs.
Another classic pick on this segment.
It's not even foot shaped.
You know, it's funny. I've gotten compliments on this by other doctors, but that just
Really?
speaks to how little fashion sense most doctors have.
Right.
Because I agree with you, man. It's not a good-looking shoe, but it was a very historic shoe in that it's Allen Iverson's Answer 4 model.
All right.
And you see his face right there. And he actually stepped over Tyronn Lue in the finals when they won that one game of 4 before they got bodied by the Lakers anyway and Kobe. But that one game was just super iconic with how much swagger he was carrying. I figured I got to get that shoe for that historical purpose. So not a go-to if I'm trying to look good, but
Yeah.
as far as like historic value, that one definitely appealed to me. And actually, AI played for you guys too in the Denver Nuggets
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a little bit, right? Not his best years, but what are you gonna
I thought we kind of caught the end of some good years.
do? Yeah, unfortunately, but
I mean, they went to the conference finals for the only time against Kobe.
yep, that's right.
With AI.
No, I thought that was with Chauncey Billups.
Maybe it
And then
was.
they traded him,
You're
and then they're
right.
like, "Mwah, mwah,
I think you're
mwah,
right.
mwah."
And I like Chauncey more because Chauncey's
Yeah.
Denver native.
Yeah. I remember that because everyone was pretty tight about that.
Yeah.
That trade, they hated to see Chauncey go. But yeah, I remember that vividly because I'm a big Lakers fan myself. So remember watching that series like, oh shit.
I did a debate show where we had to debate, me and another comic, what's better, movies or books, and I was the side of movies. And I just got up and read Allen Iverson's practice speech, but changed practice with books. We're talking about books.
I wish.
Books, man.
Is that filmed somewhere that I could watch it? I wish I was there.
Oh, I don't know.
That's.
It went over really well.
I was gonna say that's brilliant as fuck. That's.
I opened with, what more can I say that hasn't been said better? By Allen.
Sure. Yeah. If that's recorded somewhere, please send me a link. I gotta watch that.
This is modeled after a ski boot?
Nope. Actually, I can't actually speak to what the design inspiration was for these, but the colorway of this was inspired by LeBron's. This is a LeBron 4, and the reason for the kooky colors on the bottom the way it is and saying family size on the front there is because Fruity Pebbles was his favorite cereal growing up.
Okay.
So this is
And
also
Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah. So this is also a sample pair. This was not a release to the general public, so this also cost me a pretty penny, unfortunately. But it is now aged quite well as far as like an iconic model. Now, like with the newer LeBrons behind you, they put them out in a Fruity Pebbles colorway, which tends to catch people's attention because it reminds them of this shoe back when they first introduced the Fruity Pebbles, but because it was the first, I had to chase that down. So.
Can you imagine being so big they pick a childhood snack that you like and make like a shoe out of it? I don't know what they would pick for me.
Yeah, for me, it would be Honey Bunches of Oats, but I don't know that makes an interesting shoe color. But
right,
what are you gonna do?
I don't know if Frosted Mini Wheats would. Oh, a big Frosted Mini Wheat shoe.
Oh, actually, I believe there was a Kyrie cereal pack, and I want to say one of them. No, I don't think it was Frosted Mini Wheats. I think one of them was Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So it was a very similar colorway. It looked really good. I got to show you some pictures, but. Yeah, there was a Lucky Charms one, and they came in like cereal box packaging. Yeah, which is super cool. And then he like went around delivering them in like almost like an ice cream truck type of setup. It was pretty cool thing. But I skipped on him since I'm not a huge Kyrie collector. But what are you gonna do? Gotcha. So where we have 4 here. Yeah. Right, so down to your last 2.
I was eyeing the one on this side.
Okay.
By the way, I had a friend who had these growing up for sure.
Yeah, I just got those a few months back. I was happy they finally brought them back.
Yeah, right. They had them in blue too.
Yeah, but yeah, the blue is also they're both original colorways. That's why I was waiting for them. But they have been picked on this segment before, so.
See, I could see myself wearing these, but I cannot see myself wearing these.
Huh. Okay.
And they're more or less the same model, right?
Yeah. Well, they're all Pharrell Williams Adidas collaboration. So this was the original one. So I had to get it for that reason, but it has grown on me. But I remember first looking at it like, oh, that's disgusting. I don't like it. But it has grown on me. Then these came out, and these actually I found to be super gorgeous, just based on. I'm as you can see, I'm a big lover of the loud colors and stuff. So this was inspired by Holi, the Indian holiday of colors. Okay. And it's like the medley of colors and all that shit. And then these, the reason I have 3 versions is because this is the original with the flat sole. And then this has the trail sole, they call it, with the jagged edges, and then this is more like a winterized sole with a much more sturdy, sole there. So, and then these actually, I brought it to Iowa once, and they were probably my most complimented sneakers to date. So far.
These ones?
Yeah, both in the hospital and amongst the comics. They were like, oh shit, what are those?
They comfy too?
And they're very comfy.
Yeah, they look comfy.
Yeah, they're dope. But you're going with these, I'm assuming? Yeah. Fair enough. Not the first, probably won't be the last, but that's okay. All right, so down to one left.
Down to one left. It's got to be on this side.
Let's see if you can piss somebody off. That'd be hilarious.
So I'm not picking these, but I definitely recall being a kid and my cousin had a pair of Jordans with this, with the lace type there, and being very impressed. I remember asking him, like, it was just when pumps came out too, and I was like, are those pumps? And he's like, these are better than pumps.
Yeah, no, they're definitely a go-to look. I love the version of them that came with the Jordan 6, these, because it's just like the color combination here just absolutely murders me. But I believe they first came out with the Jordan 5, actually. So the 5 was the first one to incorporate that. The 6, actually, any shoe now that you see with a incorporated heel tab started with this shoe. This was the first shoe to ever do that. Okay. And that's all thanks to Tinker. So Tinker was pretty monumental in a lot of the shoe design things that are still used to this day.
So what do you wear when it snows a foot?
That's a good question. I have like go-to, dirty, ready shoes. So for example, the Jordan 1s look good, really good, beat up. So I've been wearing these, and actually because I wear them so fuely, I was gonna say, what am I looking for? So rarely, boom. They don't really get too much wear and tear, but these are definitely a go-to if it's like heavy rain, even, because obviously with a lot of these whiter shoes, I'm not trying to get in any trouble with them. Plus I'm lazy, I don't like to clean my shoes ever. So
you're not inclined to buy like a pair of snow boots?
Oh, I have actually. I can show you the what I still have to figure out a display for, but here I have my collection of like more formal shoes, the yellow bean boots, the when I first started was Bear Tims, of course. I have a classic pair of Tims, and then all the rest of my dress shoes that when I first started collecting shoes back in like 2012, 13-ish era, this was where I started with like classic dress shoes.
I like this collection better.
It's like, scrap the big top 6. We're gonna reshoot this. What's that? Yeah,
Ella Bean
bean boots, classic bean boots. Because that, all of them handmade in Maine. Came with a little card. I don't know if you've ever bought a pair, but they come with like a little card that says, "Oh, it was sewn together by this person. And, thanks for buying it." And blah blah blah. And then, oh, actually, I love telling people about these. So these I have worn in snowier weather, especially if I'm like having to dress up for like a clinic or like a formal day where I can't just wear scrubs and sneakers. So these are made with cordovan leather. And have you ever heard of cordovan leather?
No.
So you should get a feel for them. They're pretty sturdy, hefty, pretty stiff, hard, tough leather. And there's only one way. It's cordovan, or shell cordovan is the formal official name for it, and that type of leather only comes from one source, and that's a horse's ass.
Really?
So each shoe only has enough leather to make, or each glute has only enough leather to make one shoe. So you're looking at a complete horse's ass right there.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's
My God.
Yeah, and there's only one company in the United States still that does cordovan leather.
Yeah.
And they're the same leather tannery that supplies the NFL with their footballs.
Yeah. Okay.
With the leather for their footballs. So that's kind of the tie in there. So that's why I was like, yes, I got to get these. You know.
Does the NFL also use ash leather? Or?
No, they do not. Because I forget what kind of leather they use.
Pig leather.
Is it pigskin? Yeah, I guess that would make sense, right? Yeah, these were the Allen Edmonds, I believe, right? Yeah, Allen Edmonds. I went right to their store in New York, because that's the nice thing about New York. You can just go on Madison Avenue and find all these. So that's dope. And then classic Chelsea boot, I had to get a pair of, actually two, one in suede and one in black, just because that's the classic Beatles look, and, you know, rose to fame with English monarchy stuff, which I don't want to bore you with all this history talk right now. But anyway, yeah, it's penny loafers, brogues. Which what's your background, by the way, as far as like ethnicity goes? Any Scottish in you?
No, German and Irish.
German and Irish. Yeah. So the Scottish and the even just general UK, I'm sure you've noticed. I mean, you said you were a sucker for brown shoes, right?
Yeah.
These probably the greatest brogues ever made. They call them, or wingtips, because of the wing shape to the toe backs there. Boom, 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 and then the perforated patterns that you see some people wear.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever gotten fancy with your footwear in that capacity, but all these holes actually originated from the Scots who were wading in the marshes, and because their shoes would get soggy, they would perforate the holes in them so that as a functional tool they would dry out quicker. And so that extended more into like a fashion type look, and now these are made exclusively in Northampton, England, a company called Churches, which is rumored to be the best at constructing these. Like, I think, what they say, 191 handmade steps to make each pair. So it's fine constructed leather shoes. And I guess I'll just end it with this one. This classic horsebit loafer, they call it, because of the horsebit, which is what Gucci is best known for as far as like footwear goes. Obviously, they're pretty big in the sneaker space now and streetwear with the kids.
They use horse bits?
But yeah, well, they call it a horsebit.
Of course, and it's very small.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the inspiration for it, and they became synonymous with Gucci footwear. So like a classic, Gucci loafer with a horsebit on is like a must.
Does a horsebit have a little like link in the middle typically?
I don't know. I've never paid attention.
Horses.
Yeah, same way you don't pay attention to shoes. I don't really pay attention to horses. Just collect their asses.
I hate horses.
Why?
I don't understand them. I'm very good with dogs, and I don't understand them. They're too smart.
Did you have a bad experience with them or something?
No, not really. No? I mean, we owned one horse growing up that we kept out in a pasture outside of town, and we rarely rode it.
Dude,
we'd co-own it with other family.
I had an experience of riding a horse once, and it was just like the scariest experience because they're so big, majestic, glorious, huge, jacked muscles, just piercing through that skin. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, these guys could literally kill me if they wanted to, but they're not gonna, interestingly enough.
That's how I felt swimming with whales too. I'm just kind of like, that would be, if that thing wants to kill me, there's not a single thing anyone can do to stop it. Yeah. Right, this is my last pick for sure.
I could see that coming.
Yeah, you saw me eyeing it.
Yeah, I mean, just from your, lack of.
I did go a lot of pink and purple.
Yeah, lack of flair for lots of color. This is definitely not a brown shoe for sure. But this was, I mean, as you can see, this is not also a shoe I would recommend for someone just like starting a collection as like their only rotation of maybe 2-3 pairs of sneakers, let alone one. But for me, where I have all these options, these I had to collect just from a standpoint of this is the off-white collection, is what they call it with Nike. This entire section from these Jordans all the way to all these repurposed Nike shoes that he kind of took a deconstructed look to. So as you see, like the stitched swoosh on here, the writing, the font of his logo there. And this is kind of like what he's become pretty famous for since 2017 when these first dropped. Yeah, those are actually Yeezys. So these all this is Yeezys up here. This leads into Off-White with Virgil Abloh, who's now the creative director of Louis Vuitton.
Okay.
And because of that, these have a lot more cachet now, and their value just keeps going up. Like when I bought these, they retailed for, I believe, $160, just like any other Jordan 1.
Yeah.
But you couldn't get these. They were impossible to get unless you waited in line or had a connection or used like a special computer bot to like purchase it sneakily or whatever. So my only option without having a plug or a source or anything was to just pay cash in the secondary market. So I paid about $1,000 or $1,100 for these.
Yeah.
Immediately from 160, you know, that's not even a consideration. It's got to be, you know, at least 1,100. I just bit the bullet because I was like, you know, these are a cool shoe. I didn't realize how cool they were because now they go for $2,000 to $3,000 in just 2 years. So I wish I bought like 4 pairs of them and, you know, maybe sold a couple just to keep this pair for free. But, you know, what are you gonna do? You know, as I learned more about sneakers and like the stock market aspect to it and their appreciation and value for certain collaborations, certain artists, certain musicians or athletes that have anything to do with them, then I have a better idea of, okay, maybe these will age much better. I should maybe get an extra pair to, you know, sell later. But what are you gonna do? Anyway, good choices, man. Where can we find you? Plug your stuff.
All my handles are Brett Hiker, Brett with 2 T's, Hiker like it sounds, Hiter. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not on LinkedIn. I'm sorry. I'll get to it eventually.
Lazy.
I know. But yeah, check it out. Also, check out my show, Comedians Power Hour.
Yeah, what is that?
It's a comedy show / drinking competition. Comics trade off doing 2-minute sets, drinking in between.
And this is in Denver? Or?
Oh, yeah, I do it everywhere. I take it on the road.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Hey,
I've done it in Iowa too.
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there like a website you list them at, or is it on your...
You know what? It's usually on the Comedians Power Facebook page.
Okay.
But there is a Comedians Power website that we do a moderate job of keeping up to date.
Fair enough. All right, cool, man. We'll see you on the podcast. Thanks for coming.
Cool.
Peace.